The wind screamed across the white fields of Montana, slicing through the night like a blade. Snow fell thick and merciless, swallowing everything in silence except the weak cry of a baby. In a small cabin, its roof sagging under the weight of the storm, a man rocked the crying infant in trembling arms. His name was Cole Tanner, a widowed cowboy whose heart had been broken not by bullets or bandits, but by fate itself. 3 weeks ago, his wife Abigail had died giving birth to their daughter. Since that night, Cole hadn't slept longer than a few minutes at a time. The baby's tiny lungs screamed for milk he couldn't give. He had tried everything, boiling oats in water, feeding her with honey water like the old ranchers said. But the baby grew weaker each passing day. Cole's rough hands, scarred from years of roping cattle and breaking horses, trembled as he looked down at the fragile life he'd been left with. "You hold on, darling," he whispered, voice cracking. "Your daddy's gonna find someone to help you." He strapped the infant against his chest, wrapped her in his wife's shawl, and stepped into the storm. The snow bit into his skin like fire. The nearest town was miles away, but he trudged forward, lantern swinging in the wind, boots sinking deep into the drifts. The land stretched endless and merciless, but he couldn't stop. Every step felt like walking through his own sorrow. He reached a ranch house before dawn, his knuckles raw from knocking. A woman with weary eyes opened the door, her children clinging to her skirt. "Please," Cole begged, "my baby needs milk." "My wife's gone." The woman shook her head slowly. "Ain't got much myself. My youngest just weaned. There's nothing left in me, cowboy." Cole thanked her anyway and pressed on. He went from house to house, face numb, voice hoarse from pleading. By midday, he could hardly feel his feet. The baby's cries had faded into soft whimpers, the kind that scared him most. As night crept again, he stumbled back toward his cabin, defeated and hollow. His breath came in clouds, his boots dragging through the snow. When he pushed the cabin door open, the warmth from the fireplace barely touched the ice inside him. He sank to his knees beside the bed, clutching the baby close. "God, please," he whispered, his tears falling on her tiny face. "Don't take her too." Outside, the storm wailed like a mourning widow. Cole laid his head on the bed, exhaustion pulling him into darkness. He dreamed of his wife's smile, of her voice calling his name through the snow. And then, a sound, a knock at the door. Soft but real. He blinked, unsure if he was still dreaming. Another knock, more urgent this time. He rose slowly, clutching the baby, and opened the door. There, standing in the snow with no coat and hollow eyes, was a woman. Her lips were blue, her dress torn, her hair clinging to her face from melting snow. She looked half dead, but in her arms she held nothing. "Please," she whispered. "I heard a baby crying." Cole stared at her in stunned silence. The storm raged behind her, snowflakes swirling around the lantern light like ghosts. You heard her?" he asked. The woman nodded weakly, her teeth chattering. "I ain't eaten in 2 days. My child," she paused, her voice trembling. "My child didn't make it through the cold last week. But when I heard your baby cry, something inside me woke up." Cole's heart twisted. He stepped aside, letting her in. The moment she crossed the threshold, the warmth from the fire hit her and she nearly collapsed. Cole caught her by the arm. "What's your name, ma'am?" "Clara," she whispered. Clara's eyes softened when she saw the baby in his arms. "She's hungry," she said quietly, almost in shame. I still have milk." Cole's eyes widened. For a moment he couldn't speak. Then, without hesitation, he handed the baby to her. The tiny infant whimpered, and Clara gently drew her close, cradling her against her chest. As the child latched, a sound filled the cabin that Cole hadn't heard in days. The soft, peaceful hum of a baby feeding. Tears burned behind his eyes. He turned away, wiping his face with his sleeve. "You're saving her life," he whispered. Clara's own tears fell silently. Maybe she's saving mine. The fire crackled, throwing warm light over the two broken souls who had somehow found each other in the storm. Hours passed. Cole made her soup from what little he had left, beans and salted broth, and she ate slowly, almost afraid it would vanish. That night, as the wind howled outside, Cole sat by the fire and watched the baby sleep peacefully in Clara's arms. "You got anyone waiting for you?" he asked softly. Clara shook her head. No one left. Silence stretched between them. Then Cole said, Maybe you could stay a while, till the weather clears." She hesitated, then nodded. "If you'll have me." Days turned into weeks. The snow melted and life slowly returned to the cabin. Clara tended the baby like she was her own. And Cole found himself smiling again for the first time since Abigail's death. The pain was still there, it always would be. But something new grew in its place. Gratitude, maybe even hope. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Clara stood on the porch holding the baby. Cole joined her, hat in hand, watching the golden sky. "Funny thing," he said. "I went out looking for someone to feed my child, and I reckon God sent me someone who fed my soul too." Clara looked at him, her eyes soft and wet. Maybe he knew we both needed saving. The baby cooed between them, reaching out tiny hands toward the light, and for the first time in months, the cowboy smiled. Not the smile of a man who'd lost everything, but of one who'd finally found something worth living for again. As the scene fades, the firelight from the cabin glows behind them, a symbol of warmth reborn after cold despair. Narrator voice ending. If this story touched your heart, remember, love and mercy can find you even in the darkest storms. Subscribe now for more powerful stories of faith, survival, and redemption, because sometimes the greatest miracles come from the most broken hearts.